My sudden absence, there were circumstances beyond my control. I understand you have possession of the holotape you were sent to retrieve. Good. Victory is within our grasp. Soon we'll have constructed the supercomputer and shall have control over atomic rain. But first, a brief field trip is in order.
Is something wrong?
Let's just say I was feeling unwell. But it won't be an issue again. I've implemented a number of safeguards.
Is this really necessary?
I wouldn't be wasting my time if it wasn't.
Field trip?
Yes, there's information you need to be made aware of. Your partner, Jake, is waiting for you at the Museum of Freedom in Concord. Hurry over and meet with them as soon as you're able. Once you've arrived, I shall explain further. Goodbye for now.
Ah, there you are. Got some good news. With Magnusson's help, we deciphered the holotape we found in 111. We can now make more advanced ASAMs. In fact, I already built one. Saying that, and I don't mean to sound ungrateful, but between you and me, I get a little tired of all this mystery and intrigue. Sure, he's helping us, but I wish Magnusson would just stop drip-feeding us stuff. Just tell us everything we need to know already, so we can get on with things.
That is precisely why I asked you to come here.
Oh, Doctor! I didn't realize you were... wait, how are you...
Didn't mean to startle. To make our discussion a bit less cumbersome, I've commandeered what remains of the museum's PA system. And, considering what it is I have to say, I thought this museum an appropriate venue. Now, shall we begin?
How'd you do that?
I'm using your Pip-Boy as a bridge. It can bounce my radio signal to the museum's intercom system. Hardly a difficult task when you've intimate knowledge of Robco's UOS.
Please do.
The reason I asked you here is, well, there are certain topics I've avoided discussing or have intentionally sidestepped whenever you made mention of them. But before we go any further, these topics are things you need to know, and I believe that I can now trust you with this knowledge. So, to that end, I shall reveal to you who it is that employs the Gunners. But before that, I must explain to you about Project Selene and the Engramtape technology the Gunners seek.
Who are the Gunners working for?
I can tell you're eager, and I will tell you, but first, you need an understanding of my project and the Engramtape technology.
What can you tell me about this project?
Yes, Project Selene. Many saw the end of the world coming, and many made attempts to preserve something of what was. Be that resources, data, people. My attempt was Project Selene, a self-sustained habitat for humanity, built upon the surface of the moon. A lunar colony! I knew I could do it. I just needed funding so I could develop the technology to pull it off. That's where Robco came in. With their financial support, I successfully developed the tech that would guide the construction of the lunar colony's complex infrastructure.
You're talking about ASAMs, aren't you? So that's what you made them for.
Yes, ASAMs. It's with Robco's backing that I was able to create them. Real ASAMs, mind you, not these phony baloney knockoffs you've been using.
What did you say?
Yes, that's right. The moon. Before you were born, Americans had already set foot on its dusty soil. And even back then, they knew it offered more than just a celestial nightlight or an out-of-the-way place to store an old flag. Took 83 years, but eventually, the US was ready to stake a claim, to start colonizing the moon. Unfortunately, so were the Chinese. Commie forces had invaded the lunar surface, but the good old US of A already had a team waiting for them. My team. We called it the Battle in the Sea of Tranquility. Hell of a fight. We won, of course, but it came at a price. The Space Administration had a change of heart. They deemed colonization impractical, too costly. They scrapped the project, covered everything up. That's when I decided to leave the space program, retire from the Air Force. I wasn't ready to give up. So I started Project Selene.
What happened after that?
At this point, Armageddon was still at least 2 decades away. Of course, I didn't know that at the time, but many of us suspected we didn't have long. I moved into the private sector, took whatever research jobs seemed interesting. Cryogenics, plasma-based propulsion, engramic digitization, whatever I thought might be useful for Project Selene. Eventually, once I'd compiled enough research, I brought my project proposal to Robco.
It sounds like you were really making a difference.
If events had transpired differently, perhaps I could have made a difference. However, before I could even construct a rocket to launch the first payload of ASAMs to the lunar surface, Robco double-crossed me. They cut my funding, took the ASAMs, and kicked me to the curb. Cut adrift, and with time against me, I sought salvation from a devil. In order to salvage Project Selene, I made a deal with Vault Tech. They got my project back on track and facilitated the production of the Engramtapes.
Who are the Gunners working for?
Before I answer that, you need to know about the Engramtapes.
Can you tell me more about this technology?
The Engramtapes were my answer to... Initially, I tried using computers for the task, but they lacked the ability to solve problems creatively. After that, I tried robots, but operating individually, they simply weren't clever enough. And when networked, their personalities became... So in the end, I settled on using an AI. It presented the best option, and lacked the drawbacks of the previous methods.
Hold on, AI? As in an artificial intelligence? You sure don't half-ass things, do you?
I needed the best, which is why I constructed the AI using a copy of my own mind. It took some time, but everything I am was copied and downloaded to 5 tapes. These were the Engramtapes.
How'd you do that?
Thankfully, the technology to copy one's mind was already available. Not that it was easy to come by, but it helps to know the right people. Still, the process was experimental and wasn't always gentle to the user. A number of people had passed away undergoing the procedure. Well, I wasn't feeling quite ready to have my brain fried, so I did what I could to improve the hardware. And I'm pleased to say I did a rather good job. And so, my brain was copied. Most people's Ingrams fit into a single tape. Those performing, I said, at least 4. But in the end, it was 5. It seems that...
Okay, that's pretty good. I'm impressed.
My goal is not to impress, but to clarify just how important these tapes are. How valuable they'd be to someone like the gunner's employer. You see, collectively, the Engramtapes hold the total sum of my experiences, knowledge, and personality. They're a virtual treasure trove of information. And as if that were not enough, the tapes are also the key to the operation of Project Selene.
Who are the gunners working for?
Would it surprise you to learn that you've already met them? They're the ones who came to my rescue when Robco stabbed me in the back. They offered you and your family the chance to survive nuclear annihilation. Yes, that's right. The gunners, they work for Vault-Tec.
Wait, Vault-Tec?
Yes, you heard me right. Vault-Tec. You didn't truly believe them gone, did you? That they'd simply allowed themselves to be blown to Kingdom Come when the bombs fell?
But Vault-Tec? How is that even... I mean, where have they been all this time? I never seen them around anywhere. How could they have survived?
You want to know where Vault-Tec is? Look to the memorial in front of you, or better yet, just look up at the night sky. Vault-Tec provided me everything I needed to bring Project Selene to fruition, also that they could snatch it away for themselves. And so, for 2 whole centuries, Vault-Tec have been hiding themselves away, safe and sound, in my lunar colony.
I guess it does make sense.
I appreciate you being receptive. It'll make what's to come less difficult.
Okay, I can accept that the gunners are working for Vault-Tec. But back in 111, you said the gunners were hired to locate, secure, and then deliver Engramtapes to their employer. Now, I know you said they're important, but there's gotta be more to it. If Vault-Tec already has a whole lunar colony, why are they making the gunners tear apart the Commonwealth in order to find a bunch of tapes?
Because Luna Colony needs the Engramtapes in order to function. Without the tapes to regulate and sustain its systems, the colony is on the brink of catastrophic system failure. I'll admit, I'm at a loss as to how Vault-Tec has kept things running for as long as they have, but their time is up. Luna Colony has begun its collapse. And without the means to return to Earth, if Luna Colony perishes, so will Vault-Tec. That is why they are so eager to acquire those tapes.
Sounds like we're screwed.
I know you and Vault-Tec have history, Doc, but are they really our enemy? I mean, it's been the gunners who've...
The gunners are following orders from Vault-Tec. Ultimately, Vault-Tec are responsible for this war, and make no mistake, they are your enemy. Listen, the reason I've told you all this is not to scare you, but so you can fully comprehend what you're up against. You've become a potent hindrance to the gunners and their employer. The gunners have already located 4 of the Engramtapes, and if you thought this war you found yourself in was bad now, if Vault-Tec get their hands on all 5 tapes, they'll have all they need to ensure you never hinder them again. That is why it's imperative we use atomic rain as soon as we can. Wipe the gunners out before they have a chance to fulfill their contract. It's the only way to guarantee the safety of yourself and the Commonwealth.
I understand what you're saying.
I am glad you comprehend the magnitude of this. The moment for us to strike is now. For the sake of everyone, we must bring this crisis to an end.
Don't worry, Doc. We hear you. When it comes to ending this war, we're all on the same page.
We've spoken long enough. It's time for you to move out.
Tell me the next step, then.
Proceed to the USAF station where you found the comm hub. and then I'll direct you in the assembly of the supercomputer. Magnusson out.
Huh. Guess that's a history lesson over with. Still, vault tech. Did not see that coming. But does kind of make sense, if it's true.
What do you think?
As crazy as it all sounds, everything Madison said does seem to add up. Could be everything you said was 100% sincere. Or he might just be a master of deception.
He doesn't strike me as the dishonest type.
Anyway, looks like Magnusson wants us to go to Olivia. Come on, let's go get this computer built. Lead on and I'll follow. Hostiles inside. We'll need to take them out.
Still kicking? Jesus!
Killed him! Fucking high. Dead. Oh.
Magnusson here. You should be at Olivia by now. I trust all is well.
Yeah, everything's fine, Doc. We're good to go. So this is where we're building the computer, right? To hijack atomic rain?
Yes, that's right. We'll be utilizing Olivia's satellite dish. Before the war, I dispatched the comm hub here for similar reasons. Regrettably, the bombs fell before the hub could be connected. But let us not fixate on past failures. Instead, we should focus on assembling the supercomputer. That is, if your chief is ready.
Let's get this thing built.
Indeed. Let's get started. Mr. Evans, you brought the enhanced ASAM I requested you fabricate, correct?
Oh, yeah. Got it right here.
Good. Now, this may be a tad more complicated than you're accustomed to. Nonetheless, I'll guide you as best as I can. First, take the improved ASAM and position it on a nearby surface. The sensor should then scan the vicinity for equipment and materials we can utilize.
This sure brings back memories. Here, catch. Seems only right you should be the one to do the honors.
I'd appreciate if you didn't toss around the delicate equipment.
Oh, go ahead. Put the ASAM down on that desk there. Seems the best place for it. When you're ready, just place the ASAM on that desk.
Now, pay close attention, adhere to my instructions, and we'll have this supercomputer built in no time at all.
Hold on. Can't quite get this corded. Ah, there. One satellite controlling supercomputer made to order. I think we're done. Whew. That was definitely more complicated than using a regular ASAM. But still, surprisingly simple. Magnusson sure came up with something special when he invented ASAMs. They really do allow you to build some miraculous things.
I'm glad he's on our side.
Speaking of, we were meant to contact the doctor when we were done working on the computer. He said there's still one thing left to do. But before that, I was wondering if we could take a moment to talk.
All right, let's hear it.
Well, it kind of feels we're coming to the end of things, don't you think? Once we turn this computer on, one way or another, the war's gonna soon be over. I suppose I was just thinking, knowing what you know now, if you had the chance to go back to when we first met, would you do it all again? You know, ASAMs, settlements, taking on the gunners, forming our own group. Putting up with Aiden. Knowing how hard it's been. Would you still choose to do it all?
That's a good question. I guess I don't know.
I hear you. Everything we've been through? Well, that kind of thing could make any person unsure. But you know what? Asking myself the same question, I think I would do it all again. And not just because of Laura, but because I've realized the hard times, they're what reveals the kind of person you really are. And if it turns out you don't like what you're seeing in the mirror, well, now you've got a chance to change that.
I didn't realize you felt that way.
Neither did I. At least, not until we got Laura back. I didn't realize how much everything we've done had changed me. I mean, I still feel like me. But looking back at myself, that Jake seems like a completely different person.
The ability to change and adapt is a fundamental part of being human.
Yeah, I think so too. I came to the Commonwealth to find my kid, but I ended up finding a heck of a lot more. I found good people, a group that I care about, a cause worth fighting for. And I found myself. All because of the hard times. And also, I found someone to love too. So, yeah. Yeah, I think I would do it all again. So I kind of went off on a tangent there, didn't I? But I meant every word of it. Anyway, let's get back to the matter at hand, shall we?
Thanks for sharing that with me.
Alright. Time to let Magnusson know what we're up to. That radio on the desk there should be linked to the dock's comm frequency. Use it to let them know we're ready to continue.
You finished assembling the supercomputer, yes? But a few more steps, and atomic rain will be under our command, and the gunners will bother you no more.
Can you explain how this thing is actually gonna work?
The supercomputer will simulate the old ECAM mainframe, thus enabling us to interface with the atomic rain satellite network. Then it's a simple matter of feeding in the appropriate access codes, allowing the computer to bypass the satellite security systems. Then we issue the command to fire a nuke at the appropriate coordinates, and bye-bye gunners.
What happens to Vault-Tec after this?
Well, once the gunners have been removed, if all goes to plan, without possession of all the Engramtapes, Luna Colony's systems will continue to deteriorate until they can no longer sustain human life. At that point, whatever constitutes Vault-Tec these days will perish, and the threat they pose will die with them.
Everything is in place. It's ready to go when we are.
Excellent. There's only one thing left to do. The supercomputer must be linked to the comm hub, or array, as you now call it.
That might be a problem, Doc. You see, the comm array ain't exactly as horrible as it used to be. I'm not sure we could get it here.
I know that. Did you think the use of an ASAM sensor in building the supercomputer was solely for ease of construction? Physical relocation of the array will not be necessary. The supercomputer's integrated ASAM will enable remote connection.
Oh, of course. Right. Why didn't I think of that?
Once the array is linked, I'll be able to broadcast atomic rain's access codes from my lab to the comm array. The codes will then be decrypted by the supercomputer before being relayed via Olivia's transmitter to the atomic rain satellites themselves. And then we'll finally have access to atomic rain's nuclear arsenal.
Can you tell me more about this technology?
The atomic rain program was a project of mine, before Selene, when I still held the misconception that a nuclear holocaust could be averted. I'd wager the only satellites still functioning are the ones I built and sent to orbit myself. The project was an unmitigated disaster.
I'm ready as I'll ever be.
Very well. I shall initiate the link-up procedure. First, I'll establish a direct radio connection between my lab's mainframe and the comm array. There we are. Next, linking the array to the supercomputer. And it is done. Verifying connection stability and... Hello? What is this?
I know that sound.
That noise. We shouldn't be hearing that. It's the ASAM boot-up frequency. It's a dummy broadcast, used only during initialization. It calculates the position of all ASAMs and any connected radio... signals. Oh no. The comm array! Have you made any modifications to it recently? Answer me!
No. I mean, when we found the hub, we made some repairs, swapped out a few components, then we rebuilt it into the comm array. Maybe installed an upgrade or two, but nothing recent, nothing we don't already know about.
Software! Have you installed any new software?
No, nothing. The only thing recently was a holotape recording from the gunners, but I checked it. It was clean. It was just a recording.
A recording alone wouldn't trigger this kind of behavior. Unless the parts used to repair the comm hub, where did they come from?
The Commonwealth Regional Headquarters for Vault-Tec. They had this basement there, it was full of...
Vault-Tec! Of course! You used parts from their comm hub facsimile, didn't you? That explains how they did it.
What? What are you talking about?
The comm array. It's been bugged by the gunners. They've likely been monitoring our conversations ever since you inserted that holotape.
Are you in danger?
That is a distinct possibility. I just connected my laboratory's mainframe to the bugged comm array. If the gunners are even half awake, they'll have traced my radio signal by now, pinpointing my exact location. I may be in considerable danger.
Okay, that's not good. But maybe the gunners weren't paying attention. You could still intercept their communications, right? Find out what they know?
Yes, I'm already working on it. Stand by, I'm patching us in.
It's Alpha Golf. Ready, con. Notify Captain Lamont. Magnusson's position has been... Final Engramtape location confirmed. Case Quincy. Repeat, Quincy. Troops ready to...
Blast it all! The gunners, Vault Tech, they've discovered my whereabouts. They know I'm in Quincy, and they know I possess the last Engramtape. I don't know how they found out, but they know I have it, and they're coming to take it. You must help me.
Of course I'll help you.
Dr. Magnusson, transmit the atomic rain launch codes, and we could hit the gunners before...
Don't you understand? It's too late for that. I'd bet 8 of my 12 PhDs they're listening to this very conversation. I can't risk transmission. Even if we use atomic rain to destroy the gunners, by transmitting the access codes, we'd just be handing them over to Vault Tech. And with those codes, they're more than capable of commandeering atomic rain for themselves. And they'd use those satellites to destroy us out of pure spite.
Then, what do we do? How do we stop them?
I say we attack.
Hey, but that's what we're already trying to do.
Listen, we can't use atomic rain. But you also cannot allow the gunners to get their hands on the last Engramtape. If they deliver it to their employer, the entire sum of my knowledge would be at their disposal, and that includes the atomic rain launch codes. For the sake of me, yourself, the Commonwealth, and dare I say the entirety of mankind, you must stop them.
No pressure, huh?
Okay, let's get to work.
I have a plan, but our line of communication is no longer secure. Return to your headquarters, and I will find a way to instruct you further. Magnusson, out!
Come on, let's head back to HQ. Not now. We need to head back to the HQ.